everyone, and welcome to card number 4 of my Spring and Easter card making series. So I've already stamped this Stamping Bella Bunny Hoppa Bella image onto Bella's Bestest white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And this time I'm going to color her in with Prismacolor pencils and odorless mineral spirits. So I start off with the skin as always. I just used a light peach to lay down a bit of color and then added a bit of sienna brown just to add a bit of shading. And then I'm just using blending stumps dipped into the odorless mineral spirits. And the ones I use are the Grumbacher, I think that's how you pronounce it. Ones I bought mine at Michael's. People have told me they're not available at Michael's. I will have a link hopefully to a different set from onecrazystamper.com that I actually already have that works just as well, if not actually better. So anyway, once I was done the skin, I went on to do the hair, and I just used the black Prismacolor pencil for this, very lightly. One, it's a small area, and two, black is quite a powerful color. It really can spread, and if you color too much of it, you'll just make a hot mess. So very lightly, and then just kind of blend it out a bit, leaving some of the little darker areas to give it a little bit of definition. Not a whole lot. So just like so. And then once I finished the hair, I moved on to her little outfit. So I started with, I just used blush pink, laid down a base, kind of darker on the edges, and then I went in with pink, which is slightly darker, and added a little bit more around the edges. And then again, went in with a larger blending stump and just circular motions, really blending out so you can't see any of the lines. And then did her little ears, and then for the inside of the ears, and then her boots, I just used, this is light green, kind of a minty green color. And again, just blended it out. You can add more colors for shading and definition when you're doing this, but for the most part I like to keep it simple. And with images like this, that are so small, basically, and kind of finely detailed, I don't see a point in like doing a ton of blending and fancy coloring and things. It's just, yeah. So for little eggs, I just chose a few random Eastery type colors and just quickly colored those and blended them. And that was it for the main image. For the shadowing, I just grabbed a couple of Copic markers. I just used my W1 and the W00 just to add a light bit of shadow just around the image. So I put the W1 down first and then blended that out with the W00, and then that was all there was to it for that. And then as an afterthought, I decided to make it look like she was kind of wearing fishnets. So I just took the black and really lightly drew fine lines. Again, didn't have to be perfect, but it just kind of gave the illusion of there being fishnets, and I really like how that looks. And finally, I grabbed one of my, these are one of the large oval Spellbinders dies, and I purposely chose to cut part of the image off, which I have to do, like, plan ahead of time, because usually my OCD won't let me do that. You know, you gotta fit the whole image in, but this is the look I was going for, and it just works out quite nicely. And then you notice I left the pail, I didn't color it, I wanted to paper piece it. So I grabbed a larger piece of paper, and then I had actually a scrap left over, so that worked out perfectly. So restamped the image onto the pattern paper, trimmed out just the pail, and then adhered it to the stamped image with just my Tombow Mono Multi. So that finishes off all the coloring and everything for the image. And then again, I wanted to add another little something to it, so I grabbed my Quickie glue pen and very lightly added some adhesive just along the bottom of her little outfit. Now I'm going to add Fun Flock to this, and I'm using the Stampendous Pixie Pink. Yes, Stampendous Pixie Pink Fun Flock. So I dump it onto the image over top of a little coffee filter, and then I press it right into the adhesive. And then I go on to the next part. I usually work in sections with this because this glue dries really fast. I like the Quickie glue pen just because you can get like really fine areas with it. And again, same thing, dump it over the adhesive, make sure to press it in really well. That's all there is to it. So finally I add just a little bit more to the little ears of her outfit. And then once I've got that, dump it on, press it in, and the image is done. So to get the Fun Flock back in the container, that's why I use the little coffee filters. You just kind of fold it in half, and then you keep flicking the coffee filter to get it in there. It takes a little while just to get it all to slide off of the coffee filter, but that way you don't lose hardly any of it. And these containers I've literally had for 5 or 6 years. They'll last forever. So for the pattern paper for the card, I'm using the Fancy Pants. It's the Little Things pattern paper. I wasn't really thinking like Easter colors when I was looking at this, but I thought, hey, why not do something a little bit different instead of like pastel pink and green and yellow. Do something with some black in it and just something different. So fiddled around with a different sort of layout. And once I kind of got the layout I wanted in mind, just adhered everything together, and then adhered the pattern paper to a piece of black cardstock for my card front. And then the ribbon I decided to use is the Stampin' Up. This was the Pretty in Pink taffeta. I don't think this particular taffeta is available anymore, but I love their taffeta ribbon. It's so pretty. It ties so well. I wish it came in wider widths, and I'll probably have to get more colors in the near-ish future. And then fiddle around again with the layout, a couple Primas for my stash. For the sentiment, I'm using one from my Spring Sentiments stamp set. And I grabbed just a scrap of pink cardstock and then inked up the sentiment with my Brilliance graphite black ink. Everyone always asks why I use the Brilliance for sentiments, and just what makes me choose it is just because it has such a crisp black look. It just makes the sentiment stand out more than just regular dye inks. So I'd heat set that and then punched it out with my Stampin' Up key tag punch. That's another thing they need to re-release. That was the best punch ever. Again, got mine years ago. I haven't come across anything like it. I love it. So I adhered that to the card front, trimmed off the edge that hung over with scissors. And then for the main image, again, I grabbed some dimensionals that I get from Jody Morrow and cut them in half so that I only had to use 2 of these large ones, and then popped up the main image on the dimensional so it stood out more. So once I've got that in place, it's a matter of attaching the little Primas. So again, I'm just using a couple of brads from my stash, and I just use my scissors to pierce the holes, because when you're piercing through ribbon like this, using the really sharp detail scissors really helps to get the hole through the ribbon. And plus I use the scissors because it gives a flatter hole so that this large brad like this will actually go through. So it's just a teeny little like needle size hole. It's really hard to get it through that many layers of paper, ribbon, cardstock, etc. So get both of those in place, and that's it for the card front. So as always, adding a little bit of acid-free tape to the ends where the ribbon goes over so that my ATG can glide over that and not get caught. And then adhering this to the card itself, which is again just some pink cardstock. So get that in place, and then it's on to the inside of the card. So again, just using more pattern paper from the Fancy Pants pack, and I die cut a couple more ovals with the Spellbinders dies. So once I've got all that in place, I just want to add one more little sentiment, so I chose the little Happy Easter sentiment from the Spring Sentiment set, inked it up with Brilliance, stamped it onto the pink cardstock, heat set it so it didn't smear, and then punched it out with a 1-inch circle punch and adhered that to the inside of the card, and that's all there was to it. So as always, there'll be a link to my blog post with links to all the supplies used in the description box below the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!